Well, hey there, Brian Goulet here of GouletPens.com, and it's episode number 191 of Goulet Q&A. I have a lot of stuff to show you today. I'm just realizing it now. It's like, dang, there's so much stuff coming in right now. A lot of exciting stuff, so I will not waste too much time. So let's see here. In the past week, I haven't had much of a personal life, so I'm not going to really talk much about that. Just been laying low, taking care of the family, stuff like that. Pretty low-key for me. But we've had a slew of things going on here, so I want to get to that stuff. A lot of pens to show you. First off, one cool thing that we did have happen last week is we had some of our vendors coming. These are like U.S. distributors or sales reps or whatever coming from Coles of London, who's our Visconti dealer in the U.S., Pilot USA, who's with Pilot, obviously, and then we had somebody from Kenro, who's for Aurora and Montegrappa. So we got to see some samples of new stuff, got to talk about some of the things that we know is coming next year. They got to see our new office here, which was pretty cool. So, these are relationships we built with some of these people over a number of years, and it's just really cool to get to see them again and get an update on the things to come. Lots of exciting things I can't really talk about yet, but it's really cool. 2018 is looking to be a pretty interesting year. So without running too much of that, I can say that there's some fun stuff happening. I do have something kind of cool that's going to be coming up too. So I've kind of kept this on the DL for a little bit, but I am actually going to be traveling internationally for the first time in my life to go and visit the Lamy factory over in Heidelberg, Germany. So got my passport, I got my stuff there. I might have the opportunity to shoot some video stuff over there. So it could be kind of interesting. So it's going to be a blitz of a trip. I'm only there for a couple of days, so I won't even have a chance to adjust from jet lag. It's going to be kind of crazy. This is a very busy time of year, and I got a lot of family stuff happening too, but it just kind of worked out where I had the opportunity and they were willing to allow me over there. So I kind of jumped on it. So it should be interesting. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do in the way of social media and stuff while I'm over there. I got to get my phone set up over there. And I don't know, a lot of things that I don't normally have to do that I got to figure out. So, but I did want to give you a heads up that that's happening and to look forward to that. And surely after I get back, I'll have some stuff to show. So that could be kind of interesting. So kind of keeping that in mind, I'll give you a little spoiler alert for the question of the week is going to be related to what kind of stuff would you like me to relay to them directly in Germany at Lamy, or what would you like me to ask them that I can bring that information to you all. So that'll kind of be the theme, not related to much of what I'm going to talk about in the substance of Q&A today, but that's definitely what I'd like to have as a thing in the comments so that I can kind of take that to them. Lots of product stuff to go over. This is a busy time of year. Everything that's been delayed as of this point, all the manufacturers are gunning to have that stuff ready for the holidays. So we're getting really crunched right now. It's getting kind of crazy around here. So I have a lot to talk about and show you. So I won't waste time. First off, the Stipula Tocco Ferro, which I showed you last week. I really was amazed at the response. We were really split around our team here about like, oh, I don't know, the orange and the steel and all that kind of stuff. We had some people who really loved it, some people who did not like it at all. And we got, not a huge selection of them in, and they flew in like 4 hours. And we're like, okay, I guess there's a demand for these things. It just really took us by surprise a little bit. Stuff like this that's kind of new and never been done, it's always kind of a crapshoot for us. So we're getting more in. We're going to try to get more and more and more. At this point, we're getting more in as much as Stipula is able to put them out. So they'll be kind of trickling in a little bit, but if you're interested in those, just keep checking the website. We're going to get as many of them as we can to try to have them available for you. But it's a really cool pen. Just a quick rundown of what it is. It's made of iron, very much on the kind of the steel side of iron, because it's, if it's too raw of iron, it kind of rusts literally and turns brown, which looks cool but doesn't feel great. So that's what the orange is for, is kind of that forged in iron thing. Steel nib, piston fill. It's under $200. Which is pretty cool, and it's a heavy weighted pen, but the size is really nice. So I've been using mine, and I'm digging it pretty much. The nibs are pretty good. They feel smooth, they feel good. The flow is pretty good, a little bit on the wet side, not too crazy though. So I think it's a nice pen if you're into heavier pens and like that kind of metal look. Definitely worth a look. So check that out. We also got Monteverde Onyx in 90 mil. It's interesting how that one came out. We didn't even know that was a standalone color. We got it in the set, and we were like, Onyx, what is that? And we got confused as to like what it was, and we're like, oh, it's its own color. Oh, it's available in a separate bottle? Okay, so we have that as a separate bottle now if you're interested. And then we are going to have a new Nemesine Singularity color, which is blue marbled. So it's a really nice, actually really nice looking pen. So you can check that out. We'll have that very soon here as well if we don't already. I can't even hardly keep straight what days we're launching things, because what happens at this time is stuff starts coming in and we'll get a little bit of a shipment here and we'll get half our order there, and we're like piecing together, should we launch it, should we not, it gets crazy, and then the holidays get in here and things get really wacky for us to try and keep it straight, but you know, we'll try and get our stuff together. I do have something really exciting to show you, so I'm gonna try to slow it down just a minute here. We have a new exclusive pen that definitely fits into the category of things I've been setting up over the last several weeks of like, we're gonna have some exciting things coming in November. This is one of them. So it is a new Visconti pen, which comes in this rather sizable box. So basically we had the opportunity to collaborate and help influence the design of this pen. So this is an exclusive to Goulet, and we're very excited to have it. So I will show it to you now. So it comes in this rather sizely box. It is a numbered limited edition in the Opera Master format. It comes in this nice bag, in this nice wooden box covered with leatherette. And then you open it up, boom, the pen, it kind of likes to slide out of there, but it's a numbered limited edition pen that comes with its own little card, and it has a glass inkwell that comes with Visconti blue to match the pen itself. And then the pen is called the Opera Master Luna. And let me get the thing out of here. Big reveal. So we've already had it on our site for a couple of days, so it's not a super duper uber surprise if you've already seen our site. But the Opera Master is a format of pen that we haven't had for almost 2 years. They don't come out with these all the time, but when they do, it's always kind of an event. So this material is really what blew me away. It's this kind of translucent blue, which is like the perfect Goulet blue. This was a pen that is used on their, the same material that's used on their Daedalus pen, and that's a limited edition, like $3,500 pen with a sterling silver overlay and all that kind of stuff, but we fell in love with the material. We were like, hey, what if we did this on an Opera Master? So rhodium trim, double reservoir, vacuum, power filler, the larger Dream Touch palladium nib in all the nib sizes, and it's just a sweet pen. It's got the enameling here in the logo that's also blue that matches. Just a really tight design, that blue and rhodium, I'm so digging it. It's got engraving here, a number engraving on the back. So they're limited to 188 pieces. That's all that will be made of this, and we're going to have them all. So it's pretty sweet. We're super pumped to introduce this, especially right before the holidays, and just, we were able to pick the name and everything. It's got a heavy stamp on it, and just to go in 2 years from not even having Visconti, around this time 2 years ago is when we picked it up, to now having a truly exclusive pen like this is pretty awesome for us. So you can check that out. MSRP on this pen is $9.95, but when you log into your Goulet account, you can see a lower price there. So it's pretty awesome. We're super pumped about it. Again, not a super cheap pen, but Opera Masters never are, and we're really excited for this one. So wanted to introduce that to you, and I am definitely keeping one of those bad boys for myself. In fact, the one that I get to keep is the sample, the pre-production sample that doesn't even have a number on it. So super special. But anyway, that's the Luna, digging it. And then I have another, I'm just gonna piggyback right off that with another Unreal pen. And this one I'm gonna wear gloves for because it's a Namiki Maki that is on loan to us, and I'm going to wear some white gloves, which the only ones that I have on me are Visconti white gloves. So forgive me for crossing brands here, but I feel like I just gave proper recognition to Visconti here. Okay, so this is the new pen. Literally, I just got this in today to photograph and stuff. This is the new Namiki Maki Yukari Royale Frog. And there's a couple of cool things going on with this pen. First off, I absolutely love the Yukari Royale size. I think it's my favorite size of the Namiki Maki-e pens. So it comes in this wooden box, which is pretty sweet. It comes with a bottle of Namiki Blue ink, and it is a cartridge converter pen, but it comes with the Con 70 converter. And this pen specifically, I'll even zoom in for you on this one. It's really cool. Some of what's cool is the techniques that are used. The Yukari Royale size itself, I love the size. The nib size is a good size. It's their number 20 nib size, so it's basically equivalent to a number 6 size nib. Good size. I love these nibs. I think they're beautiful. And the way they write is just sublime. It's got a little bit of spring to it, not too much, but really just the right amount. The weight, it's a good weight to it. It's a brass barrel with a Urushi lacquer overlay, so it's got a good weight to it. And then the techniques that are used on here, it's 3 different techniques of Maki-e. So it's got the Rodden, which is those little flecks of shell in there, of abalone shell. So that's what gives that sparkle in the water. It's got raised portions. It's called the Taka Maki-e, and that's where you have the frogs and the leaves and things like that. And then some of the thinner, kind of smaller components is the Togadashi technique. So it's a variety of different techniques that uses you know, a lot of different layers, dozens of layers of lacquer, especially to create these elements like the frogs. Let me get down here. Try and show you some of them, because it's not every day I have one of these to show you, but they're pretty darn cool. You can even see, just like as the light's reflecting, the 3-dimensionality of these frogs, and then the water and the rod and hitting that. It's just, it's like unreal. You know, it's got some shell down in here in the flowers down by the leaves. So it's leaves, water, and frogs. That's kind of the theming here with this particular pen. It's a stunning piece of artwork. It takes a lot of time to produce these things, and it's really cool. And then it has a clip. Sometimes they do clipless, sometimes it's clip, but the cool thing about this clip, they didn't want to interrupt the design of the pen, like the elements of it, so they actually lacquered over with some powder here to kind of continue the coloration onto the clip to just keep it from interrupting the design of the pen. Really thoughtful. The impeccable build quality on these pens, I mean, they're truly unreal. And what's cool about this pen specifically is it is done by the artists. And you can see down here, whenever there's 2 lines signed like this, that's the artist's signature. Whenever it's a single line, that means it's done by a group. But when it's 2 lines like this, that means it's done by an individual artist. And they have their card in here as well. It is done by Yumi Hayashi, who is the first female Maki-e artist to do a solo pen with Namiki. So kind of a bit of a historical thing there too, which I think is really cool. And I think it's kind of significant as well. So really cool pen, absolutely stunning. We're going to do our full photography on it and have it up on our site soon. We had the images we have now are stock images, but really gorgeous pen. So anyway, thought I'd show you a couple of stunners back to back there. I know, I'm just killing you here, but we're going to get to some more affordable things. This one has got an MSRP of $4,200. Again, it takes a lot of time, and we'll have it on our site for $3,360. So if you happen to be on the market for a really nice piece of art like that, definitely check that one out. I think it's worth it. We've not had a new Yukari Royale come out in quite a while, almost 2 years, maybe even more. So pretty cool. They don't come out a lot. They're gearing up for their 100th anniversary next year, and they are very consumed with what they're going to be coming out with. I don't know any details yet. We just had our pilot rep come, and I don't know any details about what's coming out, but what I've heard, you know, the guy that we worked through, John Lane, who is in the Namiki Maki-e video that we have, he says he's been doing this for 30 years with Pilot, and he says that, you know, he's pretty much seen it all at this point, but he says when he saw these pens, he just went to Japan a few weeks ago, and when he saw these pens, he literally was just speechless, and I was like, wow, it gets me so excited. But anyway, I'm sure they're going to be like ridiculously expensive and fancy and cool, but anyway, so that's the Maki-e Frog. We also have the Lamy Studio Racing Green, bringing us back down to reality a little bit here. So we have the Lamy Studio and Racing Green. I'm expecting that any day. Originally, I was told that we'd get the Ions and the Black Studios first, the piano black ones, but now it looks like the Racing Green is coming first. I still don't know. We're trying to literally, like day by day, we're trying to figure out where are these Ions. But anyway, we have the Racing Green that we may have already launched by the time this video launches. I'm not 100% sure. I shoot these in advance, but if it's not out yet, it will be very, very soon. So those are pretty cool, and those, I saw a sample of those, and they look stunning. I mean, they look really good. Steel nib, you know, studio, it's a not seasonal, special edition, so it's not numbered, but it is going to be temporary. And from what I hear in Europe, they're really hot already, if not already out. So I think you're going to have like a limited window to get these pens. So if you are really hot for one of these, I would jump on it sooner than later. If not from us, then from wherever you can get it. Okay, some other things. Whew. I'm like halfway through my list of new products here. It's ridiculous, I'm telling you. So we have the pen literally just found out about like last night, 2 nights ago maybe. The TWSBI Eco T, which is going to be coming just after Thanksgiving. I think it's actually arriving to us like on Cyber Monday, which we'll try to launch it like that day if we can. So basically it's an Eco that has a more pronounced triangular grip, and then it has a triangular cap instead of a hexagonal cap. Those are the differences from what I understand. It's going to be the same price, and essentially these are meant to be somewhat more user-friendly for kids or people that are just using fountain pens for the first time, to have that more pronounced triangular grip. That's not uncommon to have with some pens, like the Lamy Safari and the you know, the Pelican, their Pelicano, and Lamy ABC. Some of them have these like grip accommodations if they're made for more introductory level stuff. So I think that's what TWSBI is shooting for on those, is to have more of that introductory kind of grip thing. And what's cool, they're going to be coming out with the blue one first, which of course I'm like, heck yeah. But they're going to be coming out with a clear one for 2018, so like maybe January, February, somewhere around that time frame. They're going to have a clear one as well. So, and that one I think is going to be a regular edition. So if you miss out on the blue one, or if you know it's not quite up your alley and you want a clear one, that's going to be coming eventually. And then another announcement from TWSBI, they're going to have the TWSBI 580 All Rose, which it looks like it's kind of like a deeper kind of pink. You know, that is pretty cool. The new all colors are always popular. That's going to be in mid-December, so it's going to be like kind of right before Christmas. More like I think the 15th is the date that we've been given. It's still a month out, so it's could be fluid there. But look for that, and that I have no idea how many we'll get, but I'm sure it's going to be somewhat popular. So be ready. You have a little time to save up for that. Maybe you'll get some early Christmas gifts or something. You can kind of allocate towards that. But anyway, that should be coming. There's more. Okay. We have the the Aurora 88 Flex in chrome and gold. So I want to show these to you because I have samples of them. We should have them very soon actually, but I have the samples, and these are number 000, which is pretty sweet too. So these are the chrome and gold. So these are the same Aurora 88 with the flex nib that we've had in the other solid colors before. It's got that gold nib on it. What's cool about these, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how to predict the popularity of these colors of these pens, quite honestly, but you know, historically for us, silver, especially like two-tone silver pens, just haven't been silver colored. Not this isn't sterling, but silver colored pens typically have been a crapshoot for us. It's been hit or miss. These ones seem to be kind of taking people, so I don't really know how to predict how they're going to do. But what's interesting about these pens is it's not a solid metal pen. You know, because it's a piston filler, and to do a solid metal, they would have had to line it and do all these design changes and stuff. So what they actually did was they overlaid a resin with metal. And what that means from a practical standpoint is there's a couple of really nice advantages to that. For one, you get the metal look, but it's not as heavy as if it was solid metal. So even though it looks solid metal, it's actually a little bit lighter than what you would typically associate with that. And in addition to that, what's cool is it's got resin threads on both the cap and the body, so the thread action is really smooth. Typically when you get metal on metal, you could sacrifice a little bit of that smoothness, or if it's metal on resin, it could sacrifice that, but resin on resin, super smooth, feels great. And the thing I like the best about it is typically with all metal pens, you end up with a metal grip, which is fine, but it's not my preference. I like resin grips a little better because it just feels a little grippier. So you get this metal look, but it's a little bit lighter, and you get the metal grip, or sorry, the resin grip. So I'm digging that aspect of it. That might be part of the popularity, but it's also the design too. And then, you know, with the gold one, we just don't have a lot of solid gold pens. So that's pretty cool. I like the look of the black and the gold, the two-tone kind of thing going on there. So, you know, it's basically like a Goldfinger solid gold pen, right? So it's pretty sweet if you're into that. Individually numbered pens, and they'll be in the $625 range, I think. Shoot, I didn't look it up, but it's somewhere in that range. You'll have to just look it up on the site yourself. I meant to look that one up and I missed it, but I think it's somewhere in this, just a little bit more than the other resin 88 flexes have been. So check those out. We'll have those very, very soon, if not already. What else we got? Some more. The Aurora Talentum. So a Talentum is a style that I've not had before here. So it uses the same nib as what's on the 88. It actually uses an 18 karat nib. This is the Stealth, or it's like a stealthy matte black kind of color. I don't know that the name is even finalized yet, but it's coming, I think, January or February next year. So it's a little bit in advance, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but it's a resin pen. So it's a lighter matte black pen with some resin, or sorry, some gunmetal black accents here, a matte black. It's not gunmetal, it's like a matte black accents to it. Really nice. It's a cartridge converter pen. It's a little bit more affordable. It's going to be like in the under $400 price, which is less than the 88 and the Optima and stuff like that. So if you're into that, I think it's a really sharp looking pen, pretty good size too, but not too heavy. So I'm digging that. I'm digging that. Aurora's got some good ones there. So that'll be coming out, you know, a little while from now, but you can have that on your radar. Okay, more. There's more. Pennider is a company that I haven't really talked a whole lot about yet. I feel weird talking like into this very zoomed in screen. So Pennider is a company I haven't talked a whole lot about yet, but we've had it on our site, and you're like, Pennider, what the heck is Pennider? So Pennider is a paper company that's been around for about 240 years in Italy, in Florence. And even though paper has been their thing, and they've had people that have obviously used pens, they haven't really made pens before. Well, as it turns out, the very famous Italian pen designer Dante Del Vecchio has landed and found a home at Pennider. So he is now leading the development of the Pennider pen brand. So that's part of what's exciting about Pennider, is they now have a rather legendary pen designer, Italian pen designer there. So the two pens that I have for you here are called the Avatar and the Grande Bellezza. And Bellezza, sorry. And they are the two pens that they're kind of coming out with first. They're kind of dipping their toes in the water, getting their feet wet a little bit. Dante is kind of coming out with these pens now. From what I hear, there's a slew of stuff that's going to be coming out in 2018 from Pennider. If any of you know Dante, he has a lot of ideas. So we could see some cool stuff come from Pennider next year. But these pens are kind of the introductory ones that are coming from Pennider. So there's, you know, depending on what Dante ends up doing from here on out, could end up being somewhat of a historical kind of thing. I don't know. I don't want to like oversell it or anything like that, but I'll just go ahead and show you the pens. So the first one is the Avatar. So these are some slightly thinner pens than the Grande Bellezzas. So I'll zoom in a little bit. I am missing one of them. There is a gray one that I don't have on me because that's going to be coming a little bit later, but I have a blue, red, and orange one here. The material looks stunning. I mean, the resin material here is really deep color. Kind of reminds me, for those of you that might remember, Delta had this pen called the Fusion 82. Kind of looks similar to that. It's got like these, you know, really intense swirls to them. And kind of like this, I don't know how to describe these exactly. It's not just these big flowing swirls, but it's these really tight, like, groupings of swirls in here. It has a lot of depth to it. It looks really shiny. It looks really cool. Some elements here. So the clips for Pennider, it's all quills. So it's got kind of this feather quill looking thing. Spring clips, so they're pretty easy to operate. And then they're all magnetic cap, these avatars. And the center band is kind of a wide center band, and it actually has the scenery, the skyline of Florence on here. So that's kind of a nice little element they have there. It's a cartridge converter pen. They use steel nibs on these avatars, and it's 224 for these pens. So a little in the upper range for a stainless steel nib. But again, I think this is, you know, something that they don't have many of these pens. They're just kind of introducing them to the world from Penider. So if you're interested in these, you can check those out on our site. We'll have them very soon. And then the other one is the Grande Bellezza. These ones are a little bit larger. Use some more of that kind of traditional deeper swirl pattern with some different colors going on. This green one is a stunner to me. So it's a green and silver swirl with some black accents in that material. And then we got a blue and red swirl. It's kind of like almost like a teal, kind of like a steel blue. And what's interesting about these pens is the mechanism that Dante designed in this cap calls it a soft touch metallic or soft touch magnetic lock. So you can see the grip there. It's got a very, very pronounced contour in the grip, which is actually pretty darn comfortable to me anyway. And it has a magnet in like two parts of the grip and a magnet in the cap that basically when you twist the pen, it kind of causes the polarity to kind of reverse, and it like makes it so that it kind of unlocks that cap. So you can see here, like if I kind of drop it in there, it'll just, it'll like twist it into place. That's because of the polarity of the magnets in the pen. So it's a really interesting mechanism. Like you can't really physically see what's going on there, but certainly, you know, I'll like take this thing out and kind of like just bounce it back and forth. I'm like, oh, it's kind of neat. But anyway, so it's kind of a neat little hint of some of the innovations that I think are going to come from Dante. More pronounced kind of quill clip going on right here. You can see that feather is a little broader there than it is on, say, the Avatar. It's got the little Penider logo in the top. And then these ones are going to be individually numbered. So that's got the number engraved down in the bottom. This is cartridge converter as well. These are going to be 18 karat gold nibs. These are Bock nibs, and you know, I've used these 18 karat Bock nibs, and they write quite nice, honestly. Bock definitely has kind of a touch with some of their 18 karat nibs. So this pen's a little bit more. It's just over $600. So, you know, again, I don't think this is going to be maybe for everybody, but if you like that, especially if you dig that magnetic thing, I definitely think it's worth checking out. And then the other thing I wanted to point out about Penider, and I'm spending a lot of time on this just because it's a new brand and got some new stuff. Here's the box that comes with the Penider. They designed these boxes. These are new boxes that they've never used before. I think they had some pens that they were working with before, but these are the first they've like custom designed in-house. So this box, the outer cardboard sleeve kind of opens up like this, and it has this kind of like triangular, like almost like a writing desk style box that opens up really like a kind of like a traditional writing desk, which is really fitting for the brand because they're an older brand and just kind of an homage to kind of those older days of when a writing desk was like the modern laptop, right? And then it has a sampling of some of the Penider paper down in here, which Penider, I mean, paper is like what they're known for. Literally, like they do custom like embossing and stuff like that, and they have, from what I hear, they have a room. It's kind of like a vault in their facility that has all of the custom plates they've done for their embossing, and it has like kings and queens and emperors and like great, like all of like royalty of like hundreds of years have these plates in their Penider vault. So a lot of history going on with this company. Very interesting. It's got the kind of a magnetic latch to the box too. So there's a lot going on there, and the paper is, frankly, it's super nice and crazy expensive. So the fact they include it in there is pretty cool. So really interesting stuff going on with Penider. I'll be really curious to see what happens with that. And especially as they develop and kind of get more into it and Dante gets a foothold there, it'll be really kind of cool to see what goes on. Okay, there's more. I'm like 20, oh my gosh, how far into this? Holy crow. I'm almost half an hour into this already. All right, we're gonna keep on going. So there's more. Platinum 3776 has the Nice Lavande, or Lavande. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. I'm calling it Lavande. And they are coming out with that very soon. I don't know exactly when I'm going to have that, but it's going to be, I think, maybe next week. It's their new special edition that they have. It's similar to the Nice Lilas, which is a pink color. This one is a purple, kind of a lavender color, hence the name. Beautiful looking pen, quite honestly. Rose gold trim. I think it's going to be really nice. It's a little more expensive, but it's worth checking out. Field Notes Resolution, that's their new winter edition that they're coming out with. I think we're going to have that next week, so you can check that out. If you are a Field Notes fan, you pretty much know the deal there, but we'll have those. Also, we're going to have some Goulet designed calendars. So this is an interesting project. Literally, we had designed, I got to tell you the story about this. We designed some calendars in-house just to use internally, give out to some of our vendors and stuff. I ended up hanging one of these in the back of the Goulet guest interview that I did with writer Carol. And I wasn't really thinking about it at the time, that the fact that it might be something that people would ask for, but we had got so many responses of people asking for a calendar. So we've been thinking about it, and we finally, probably a little bit too late, just thought, okay, why don't we put together this calendar? So our team has been working hard on that the last couple of weeks. We're just going to eke it out right in time before Thanksgiving hits. So our calendar, it's basically using a lot of the Thursday things, layouts that Sarah has done, and then it has just dates on it. I know you're probably asking like, oh, are they fountain pen friendly? No, they're not. They're just traditional, like kind of that glossy finish calendar. So I can say from what we've done with our note cards and stuff like that, we had to test so many different kinds of paper, and to have this much fountain pen friendly paper in a calendar format would be very expensive and stuff like that. We didn't want to go that route. We might explore that for next year, but this is what we have for this year. So just kind of neat layouts, pretty minimalist kind of formatting and stuff that we've done. We didn't go crazy deep on all the holidays that we put on the calendar and stuff like that, but you can at least check some of those out. We priced them. Frankly, we're really not making any money on these. I wanted to price them quite literally just like at cost, so that it would be just kind of something for you all. Sure, it's like a nice little marketing thing for us. You get to look at our beautiful stuff and all that, but really it's kind of something that we wanted to develop. It's not going to be a moneymaker for us. It's going to be something that we just wanted to do to have, so that you could appreciate some of the cool images that we've taken. So in a way that you could not have done that otherwise. So we're going to have those on our site maybe in the next week or so. Our goal is to have them up by Thanksgiving. They're literally being printed right now. So hopefully you enjoy those, and it could be a nice little giftable thing for the holidays, maybe, if you know anybody who likes pens and wants to have pretty pictures of pens to look at. So anyway, what else we got? So the Pelikan M605 White Transparent, I want to talk about those a little bit. We're selling out. From what I hear, the US distributor is out, and I'm not sure if we're going to have more coming in or not. The distributor, Chartpak, is a distributor for Pelikan in the US. They don't know from Pelikan yet if they're getting more. From what I hear, they have more on order. They just don't know if they're going to get them. So this might be it. I just wanted to give you fair warning, whether you buy from us or anywhere else, it might kind of dry up in the US here fairly soon. So if you had that on your radar, move. Another thing that's coming is the Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl, which I'm so pumped about because it looks amazing in the pictures. I haven't seen it in person yet, but it looks, and from what I know of the ones they've done in this kind of like swirly format, I think it's going to look unreal. So I think one of those is going to end up kind of working its way over to me in my office and not leave. But it's really exciting. The M800 805 format to me is my favorite. I love the size of it. It's a slightly larger size. I think the M600 size ends up being probably the most popular size of Pelikan. The 800 is probably right behind it for anyone who likes a slightly bigger pen. It's got a little more weight to it because it's got some more internal metal components to it. And I think that material is just going to look freaking unreal. And seems like Pelikan is being a little more competitive on their pricing in the US. So the white transparents and then this Ocean Swirl are slightly lower in price too. So what is the price on that one? I can't recall it from the top of my head. Let me check it out real quick. Ocean Swirl, $520. So typically they've been more in like the 600 range. So still not a bargain cheap pen, but it looks so cool. I can't even. So I'm pumped for that. That's going to be coming, I don't know exactly when. Soon, though. And then, okay, that's it for new products. I'm like tired after that. We're going to have more, though. Like, we got more stuff coming next week. We got more stuff coming the week after. It's going to be a gauntlet here for the next month or so. So get ready. There's going to be a lot of exciting stuff, and you're going to be tempted by a lot of it. You're going to just be sick of me talking about stuff, but it's coming. Be ready. We're making up for like lost time over the last couple months. Okay, and just a quick heads up, some logistical things. I'm going to have no Q&A next week. Thanksgiving and Black Friday is kind of going to be all involved there. So not shooting Q&A, so just kind of sorry, but be ready for that. I'll pick it back up next week though. And then the week after that is when I'm going to be in Germany. So I'm probably going to shoot 2 Q&As to have one published while I'm in Germany. But anyway, And then what else? We're going to have a skeleton crew that's going to be here on Black Friday. You know, I think we're going to be okay with all that. We're always trying to balance like having our team take time off, but then being here to support you all, because that whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend is a really busy time for us in retail. And though we're not a walk-in store and we don't have to like have doorbusters and all that kind of stuff, it's still a very active time for us, and we want to make sure we have some support here for checkout issues and website bugs and just account errors and stuff like that to be able to help you get what you want. So what's going to help with that though is we're not just doing like a Black Friday deal. We're doing deals that run all the way through Cyber Monday. So it could be, if we're limited on certain stock, stuff like might move a little faster and not be available all the way through Cyber Monday. But you know, we've tried to stock up. We're trying to do you know, deals on things that we have a good stock of, so you're not just like running out and missing out in like 2 hours kind of thing, because I know how frustrating that is. But we are going to have a lot going on for that whole weekend. So just kind of be ready, be on the lookout for that when that comes, that the day after Thanksgiving through that Monday. All right. Wow, 36 minutes? I think that's a record for longest introduction in a Q&A before. I purposely chose fewer questions. I only have 6 questions this week, and I'm going to try to work through them quickly. Let me check my time here. I'm literally booked solid today in my day because it's been a crazy week for me. Okay, I have a meeting that's starting in 5 minutes. I'm going to message my team. This is like super unprofessional. I'm just going to message my team real quick. Give me like 2 seconds because I'm going to have to push back this meeting just a little bit. Okay, still shooting Q&A. Can we push back 15 minutes? Yeah, this is ridiculous. I'm going to try and get the rest of this done in 20 minutes. You think I can do it? You already know the timestamp. I haven't yet shot it yet, so I don't really know. All right, let's rock and frickin' roll. All right, pen and writing questions. This is from Hermit Piper on Instagram. In your video introducing the Visconti Homo Sapiens, you briefly mentioned the 6 threads and the hook mechanism. I've got 2 questions on that. How exactly does the spring-loaded mechanism in your cap work? And the threads on the barrel seem to look a bit feathery on some of these pens, almost as if they wear out. Is this possible? I wouldn't think so, as I guess both the threads and the hooks in the cap are made of lava. Or does the hook and the thread thing work with plastic? Okay, you enjoy the Q&A a lot. Cool, thanks, I'm glad. So it's hard to see kind of what's going on there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I use a Homo Sapiens daily, and so I'm a big fan of this. It's called the hook safe lock mechanism, and I'm going to show you what that's all about there. So it's these hooks. They're rather chunky threads here, and basically the way that this works is it has a spring mechanism in the cap that has these notches. The notches kind of fit into these grooves, slides over, and then locks in place. That's what's going on. So as it kind of goes in, it twists in place, and then when it locks, it comes out just a little bit, like so. See? That's how it works. And so you mentioned kind of some of the feathery looking things. This is really hard to see with the lighting in here. I'm going to try and zoom in as much as possible. All right, so you can see here, there, some of the featheriness. It really just has to do with the machining. I've been carrying this around and using it literally for 2 years, pretty much daily, and unlocking this thing a lot. It actually has gotten less feathery looking over time. I think that because that's just machining stuff. Some of them look super clean, some of them a little less so. I think it has to do with the tooling. This is a pretty tough material, and I think it can be hard on the tools because literally it's like stone. It's like lava, stone, it's rock. So I think maybe some of it is just maybe the natural maybe imperfections of the stone and what that it can leave just a little bit slightly less clean look on these threads. Again, I've seen some that look really clean, some that look dull. It might have to do with how sharp the tools are and stuff and all that. But I also wanted to show you the Homo Sapiens. This is the London Fog, which is an absolute stunner. This was their limited edition from last year. But this is resin, right? So this shows you what it looks like and how crisp it can look. Yes, they do use it on other pens. They've used it on the Opera Metal. So you can do metal threads in the hook safe lock. They've used it in lucite, which is like the Visconti Divina. This one is resin. They've used it on a number of different types of materials. So it can be done. It looks a lot cleaner, a lot crisper on here. And I'm not going to lie, it operates a little smoother on the resin ones and the lucite ones than it does on the lava. Part of that is just like the material itself. Like this lava material, it's hygroscopic. It's got a little bit of just natural kind of grab to it. So on those threads, it's going to do that same kind of thing. It's going to grab just a little bit more, but you don't have to worry about it like wearing away or anything like that. It's a super durable material, and any featheriness you see there is just purely machining marks and stuff like that. Cool? All right. Taking Care of Mama on Instagram, which I love that name, by the way. I really want to add a pen with a flex nib to my collection. What are the biggest differences between the Noodler's pen models? Yeah, I'm happy to give a rundown there. I'm just going to touch on them a little bit because there's really four main models. I almost said three, but there's four. So we have the Nib Creeper, which is the little guy. And this is the first one that they came out with. It's a very thin pen, has the lowest ink capacity of all of them, but it's a piston filler, and it's just over 16 bucks. So it's really affordable, and it has a rather small, it's like a number 2 size flex nib. It's a great pen for just starting out, getting interested in it, especially I think, those with smaller hands like these pens a little bit more. It doesn't have a huge ink capacity. It's about a 1 milliliter, which is okay, but with a flex nib, you're going to consume ink a little faster. It's got a variety of different colors, including this clear one, which I prefer the clear because you can see what's going on inside. And it's got a very, very durable resin material. It's like a vegetal resin, which has a very distinct Noodler's smell to it. People talk about the Noodler's pen smell. That's the vegetal resin there. What's cool about that resin is it's extremely shock resistant. So it does kind of like mar and scratch and stuff like that because it's slightly softer, but it's also more resilient. So you can literally like practically drive cars over it and shut it in your door and stuff like that. And it's got a lot of pliability to it. So it's going to be very durable. So it's a great knock around flex pen in that thinner style, and it's the most affordable. Next up from there, we come up with the Ahab. The Ahab is my personal favorite of the Noodler's flex pens. It's a larger pen, so for me it's a little more comfortable. I find that having the leverage of a larger pen helps. You're looking around $23 for this one. And it's a bigger pen too, so you have a bigger ink capacity, the nib is bigger. So for me, I feel I can get a little more leverage. It feels a little easier to flex to me, even though you can actually get the same line variation with the Nib Creeper. It just feels a little easier to get that to me with this one. It has a piston style mechanism inside that you can actually unscrew and remove, and then you can convert the pen to an eyedropper. So you get, upwards of 2 milliliters of ink with the piston in here. And then when you have, it's already got an O-ring on here, you just put a little bit of silicone grease on the threads and you can get up to 6 milliliters of ink in here, which is just crazy. Like that's so much ink. So that's why some of the more diehard users like to use the Ahab, because you can get just such a ridiculous ink capacity on that. Tons of different colors. Next up from there, we have the Conrad, which is the most confusing of the bunch because there's the most variety. So there's a vegetal resin Conrad, which is the same material as the Ahabs and the Nib Creepers, which is fine. And you're looking around 20 bucks for that. And that has a piston mechanism in it as well, with a blind cap. So it has, this is one of the busted ones that I had. We had an issue for a while with, there we go. Some of the threads were weak there in the beginning, and this apparently is one of those. But anyway, it has a removable piston that you can unscrew out of the back, and you can maintain the O-rings and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't require any tools to remove that. It's got around 1.5 milliliter ink capacity. Same nib as what's on the Ahab. So if you like that number 6 size nib, you can swap the nibs out too on the Ahab. That was one of the benefits too I forgot about. You can fit a number 6 size nib on there. Noodler's has some. We have Goulet and other brands that you can use on there. What else? What else is going on with this pen? So, originally Nathan designed these to have really swappable nibs. Was running into some flow issues and things that were kind of, less than desirable on the Conrad. So we actually changed the design of the grip of the pen to really kind of just have a seated fit for the Conrad nibs. Now it's kind of hit or miss as to whether you can fit a number 6 nib in there, so we don't really promote it now as being a universally kind of swappable nib for the Conrad. But there are some that will fit in there, but it's just not reliable enough for us to say that you can do that. And then the Conrad also has a acrylic resin version, which is more expensive. You're looking in the $40 range for these. All the same features and everything. It's slightly longer. slightly longer, but the overall design is very similar, but it's got that deeper look to the material on it. And then similar to that is the ebonite. And there's been a variety of ebonites that have kind of come and gone as far as colors go, but you got the same thing going on here. It's got ink window and stuff like that, so that's really nice. And same number 6 nib, et cetera, in the $40 range here. Blind cap on the back, all that same stuff there. So the Conrads have the most different things happening there with the widest range of prices. And then from there, and this is how it goes up in price, and that's also how it's how they've just been released actually. And then the big one is the Neponset, largest of the group. Also uses a number 6 size nib, but it's a different nib than all the other ones. It's a 3-tined stub music flex. So it's this crazy nib. So it's a very wide nib, very wet flow, that flexes out with 3 tines. So kind of interesting. You gotta love it or hate it kind of thing. You know, with this pen, it's got the same thing going on as the Ahab does. It's got that removable removable piston that you can also use for an eyedropper. Huge ink capacity on this pen as well. Very, very wet writer. So it's a little more niche as far as who actually likes to use this thing. And then it's just not going to be for everybody. So, and you're in the $75 price range. But they are ebonite and they have acrylic versions too. So it's an interesting pen for sure. But the Neponset's probably like the most polarizing of the bunch. And the last thing is what's kind of cool with both the Neponset and the Ahab is this is a relatively newer concept that's come out, but Noodler's has their 308 reloadable cartridge, which is kind of a, you know, armory pun there, but you can remove the piston and the breather tube, and then you can actually unscrew the cap here. You can fill this with ink and carry it around with you, and then you can actually screw that onto the back of the Ahab or the Neponset. The newer Neponsets anyway, the original Neponsets, it just didn't quite have the clearance, but he lengthened the interior of the Neponset. So newer Neponsets now have the ability to use these cartridges, and they're super cheap cartridges too. We sell them in a 5-pack. It's very cheap. I think it's like $10 or something. And there you go. So you can carry around your ink with you for those of you that want to carry around cartridges but don't like the ink capacity or having to change them out constantly. There you go. That's what you can have happen with that. And that's the full Noodler's lineup. So you get to choose which is your favorite. I like the Ahab for all of them, but really they all have their pros and cons, and I think they're pretty good. Cool. Next question is from Luca D on Facebook. I also collect whiskey, and we have seen a lot of premiumization, i.e. brands charging high prices for average whiskey with brilliant packaging, exotic names, and weird stories behind the product. Do you feel that something similar is happening in the fountain pen world with new manufacturers selling flashy pen bodies with a universal Bock or Jowo steel nib and prices often above $100? So I guess this depends if you consider charging above $100 as being a premium. I think by most kind of, especially people who aren't like accustomed to the fountain pen world, certainly paying $100 for a single pen seems certainly like a premium product. I totally get that. But I think for what you're saying, the premiumization in this respect is it just being kind of like, you know, a vanity kind of puffed up to charge a premium just by making it look snazzier? Okay, so I think, you know, part of it is you're talking about like the universal Bock and Jowo nibs. Well, that gets to an interesting place because it's not really universal, right? Like they're somewhat more standardized. They do make nibs for a lot of different brands. Some of them are more custom and fitted to their brand. Some of them are more universal. Really, it just comes down to economies of scale. If a nib manufacturer can make one type of nib, sell it to a bunch of different companies, they can do that and produce them more en masse, make them cheaper, therefore more appealing, and it's a competitive edge, right, for Bock over Jowo or whoever else. And so there's an appeal to that. At the same time, if they are universal, you're like, well, what's the difference between one pen or the other? If the actual writing portion of it is the same as, say, Jowo nibs, isn't it the same? Jowo nib the same? Yes, there could be some tweaking and stuff that's done at the individual manufacturer level, and of course you have the feed and other things that come into play too, but more or less, the nib could be viewed as the important part of the pen, and everything else is kind of just vanity, right? To a degree, I could see that argument, right? Like there's other things going on. You get element of craftsmanship, there's size and functionality of the filling mechanism, all that kind of stuff. But yes, to a degree, the nib could be considered somewhat universal if you're using a Bock or Jowo across a different brand, right? But there's other things that come into play. And what ends up happening, you have these economies of scale, universal nibs. If they can make them in large batches, that means they can afford to sell the same type of nib to an Edison, or our Goulet nibs, all Jowo, or Twisby uses Jowo nibs too. So different manufacturers of pens cannot have to basically make the huge investment of developing custom nibs. They can use what are really good nibs and fit them on their pens. And you could say, like, okay, is a Jowo number 6 nib on a Twisby VAC 700R, how do you compare that to, say, a Edison Collier, right? Like, they might do some individual tweaking. The feeds are different. The pen bodies are different. The filling mechanisms, yada, yada, yada. But part of that comes down to the different manufacturer and the other elements of the pen too. So, I think about like Twisby, like they have a factory over in Taiwan. They produce much greater quantities of pens than, say, Edison does, right? Like Edison is a much smaller manufacturer. They have, like 4 people in their company in Milan, Ohio, and it's American made. There's an element of hand craftsmanship and stuff like that that might be different from some of these other manufacturers. A lot of different things come into play, and they might use different materials and stuff that come into play, and there's a lot of different factors that come in. So typically, from my perspective, what's happening with these is it's not so much that there is what I consider to be a premiumization of let's just see how much we can get away with charging by making it look a little snazzier. That I'm seeing less of that, actually. There's definitely some of that goes on, and some brands will certainly make a play for going kind of the luxury routes, charging a premium and making the packaging really nice and stuff like that. All depends on kind of what their target market is, right? Definitely here at Goulet, we have kind of more of an emphasis on new people getting in the fountain pen hobby. So there's more of an emphasis on value and less so on kind of the branding and the premiumization type of stuff like you're talking about. But I don't think that as a whole, that's like a super universal thing, especially with what you're talking about here with these universal nibs. I think a lot of them are more boutique brands that are smaller manufacturers that just have to charge because they're just dealing with smaller quantities and stuff like that. So there's less of economies of scale as, say, a Lamy or a Pilot or something like that. So these brands, I think I've only been around in the pen industry for about 8 years, so I have to rely on kind of what others tell me who've been in the industry for a lot longer. But from what I understand, over the last 8 years, I'm seeing a little bit less, or starting to see a shift a little bit away from premiumization, actually. I'm starting to see more manufacturers making effort to come out with more affordable pens, starting to understand that, okay, if we keep on going up in our price and going premium, yes, we might be kind of aging with the pen market, but we're not bringing anybody new in, and that's going to kind of play itself out, and then we're all going to suffer in the end. So that's starting to kind of come around for some manufacturers. So starting to see some emphasis in that, and I really like that. I think more of an emphasis was in like the 90s and the 2000s of coming out with like $2,000 limited editions constantly. That was a much more common thing, and certainly some brands will still do that. But there's more of an emphasis of some lower price things that are going to start to come out too. So I think some brands are kind of balancing both, but I think that I'm seeing probably less of that now as being a trend for pen brands. Cool. Jason A. on Facebook. As the year comes to an end, what were your favorite 3 pens released in 2017 that were offered by Goulet Pens? This is so hard. This is so hard to answer because there were some good ones. And now there's like a lot of good ones that are coming right at the end, right? So I'm going to say 3. I went ahead and picked 3. You may not like my choices just because they all tend to be a little bit pricier, and they tend to all be, they're all 3 exclusives that we had. So you're not going to really like my answers universally, and I'm sorry for that. I'm being honest. The ones that got me really excited. So the first one is Edison Nouveau Premier in Delphinium. Of all the premieres we've done, that material just has blown me away. I love it. I wish we'd been able to make more of them. Just didn't happen. I love that pen. I just love it. And I'm so glad we were able to make that happen this year. So that one is definitely on tops for me. The Opera Master Luna, which literally is just launched. I don't know how they're going to sell. I hope they sell well, but I don't even care really in the end, because I'm just happy to have been able to be a part of creating a pen like this. And whenever I have kind of any personal involvement with helping to develop a pen, it wasn't just me, of course, it was the team, and Rachel had a heavy hand in it too. It was really kind of her initial idea to even come up with the whole idea of taking the material from the Daedalus. But for me, anytime that we can have some influence in a stamp and creating a pen that hadn't existed otherwise, it's always personally meaningful to me. So I love this. And I'm just really thrilled with it. And of course, it's blue. I friggin' love blue. So it's that one's there too. The other one, I really debated about this one, but it was really cool for me. So the other one was the Stipula Etruria 88 Rainbow Prisma. So I like this Etruria. I've always liked the format of the Etruria. I never had one. I special ordered an Etruria Alter Ego like years ago. And I always loved it. I wish that I had kind of hung on to one. They didn't come out with an Etruria in so long. And when they came out with this one, the rainbow material is stunning, of course. The demo color is cool. I love the piston. I love that the piston is backwards twisting from all the other pens I've used. It's just quirky and neat. And it's a really comfortable size pen for me. And it's just the fact that we were able to kind of come out with that. There were not a lot of them. So the fact that I got one was really cool, and I just really dig that pen. And I don't know, I dig it personally. Again, these are all fairly expensive pens, so I'm going to give an honorable mention to the Lamy Safari Petrol too, because I love that color. I know it hasn't been as popular necessarily as the dark lilac was, because we were pent up for a purple one, right? But I like that petrol one. I like the matte finishes on the Safaris, and so I like that more so than like the neon trend that they'd been on in previous years. So I dig that. The ink was really cool. We didn't get enough of it, but we still have some of the pens. They're gonna roll out and be gone here probably early spring. But I think that's been an honorable mention for 2017. So there you go. There's been so many other good ones, though. I know you're going to have your own opinions, but that's just kind of the ones that stuck out to me. Next question I have is from Scott S. on Facebook. Theoretically, what's the point in a fountain pen with no line variants? Truth bomb, right? Without the gorgeous control of lettering, is it just another color changeable ballpoint pen? This is not how I feel. As I would have a fountain pen just for the love of the mechanics, but a valid someone can make. What are your thoughts, Brian? Okay, rough, Scott. I mean, it's good to know that you don't feel that way. It doesn't feel quite as judgy. For sure, it's like, okay, if there's no line variants, if you're using a plain black ink with no shading or anything, what's the point in a fountain pen, right? I mean, look, there's so many different reasons, right? Like you get ink capacity, you get the flow and the smoothness of it, you get some spring in the feel of the nib that just causes it to feel softer. It's just, there's the size of the pen, and the artistry. There's so many different things that I could go on and on about why I love fountain pens, even if there's nothing like crazy in the way that it ends up writing, right? But for sure, to me, the appeal of it is the different colors of ink, the flow of it, the shading, the mechanics of the pen, the design elements, and then when you get into like stubs and flex and stuff like that, the line variation you get just takes it to a whole other level. So to me, yes, if you're not using anything with some of those really outstanding aspects of the fountain pen and the way it writes, I think you're missing out maybe on some of the cooler aspects and more unique aspects of fountain pens. But for sure, there's plenty you can enjoy with them, even if you're not using some of those kind of more fringe aspects of it. That's just my feeling on it. So no judgment here whatsoever. If you love the pens, use them. Even if you're writing in plain black ink with a fine nib in block print, good on you. Enjoy your pens. That's what they're for, right? So there you go. I ended up actually lopping off my last question. That's why there was a cut there. I just ran out of time. I got to get to another meeting. But anyway, that's my Q&A for this week. Sorry it took so long to get through all the new products. I knew it was going to be kind of a bear. But anyway, that's where we're at. So there's so much going on. You can check out all these products at gouletpens.com. Be sure to sign up. My question of the week is, what would you like me to ask Lamy in Germany? Feedback you want me to give them, or pics or video or anything that you'd like to see in their factory if I'm allowed to show it. I know there's proprietary stuff going on there, but I think part of the reason that they allowed me to go is because I was willing to maybe show some of the inner workings of what they have going on. So I'm super eager to see. I would love to know. It would be helpful to me to go there knowing what it is that you all would like to see. Because then I can be like, hey, look at what everybody asked. I can pull up the comments on YouTube and be like, hey, people really want to know this stuff. So literally, like, put that stuff in there so that I can bring that to them and be like, this is what the people want to see. That can be super helpful. So go ahead and just leave your comments on YouTube, on the blog, shoot us an email, whatever works for you, could be super helpful. So I'm pumped for that. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving next week if you celebrate it here in the US. Or if not, I hope you have a wonderful Random Thursday. But either way, thanks so much for watching Q&A. Hope you've enjoyed it. We're listening Q&A. I never give props to the people that are listening to the audio, but thanks for being with me on Q&A this week, and right on.